so we can break our fast.
Yeah, that's true.
I
The blood
would.
gas are calling. So today we'll talk about blood pressure.
Fasting and blood pressure, to be exact. So why don't doctors and media and Big Pharma want us to know about blood pressure? And I kind of answered that question.
Speaking of which, that my mom one time told me that especially people of her age knew that when they started to use medicine to control the high blood pressure, basically they have to rely on that the rest of their life. That's why my mom didn't take any medicine. She kept checking her blood pressure very constantly, just to see how it changes, okay? To see if it's too high that she needs to worry, but she never takes medicine. So I think that's pretty smart to do.
And one of the things that she has learned by taking her own blood pressure at home is that your blood pressure is pretty stable based on your lifetime. I mean, if we look at that age chart, it's going to go up a little bit, but it's not going to go up drastically overnight. So it's pretty stable. The problem with medications is you will have to be on it for the rest of your life, because you start taking the medication. The only time that blood pressure medications work is if you're in hypertension stage 3. And it will lower your blood pressure a little bit. If you're in stage 2, it might lower it a little bit, but only a little bit. And actually, studies have found that your risk of dying does not improve with medication. It doesn't. Now, I'm not saying don't take medication. If the doctor has told you to take medication, take medication. But it doesn't increase your lifespan. So you're not going to live longer if you take the medications. But when you come into the doctor, of course, the doctor may not even know about those studies. But if they do, they're not going to tell you, well, you don't really need to take these drugs. Because what they're going to say is, oh, your blood pressure is really the same. So you've stabilized it, and that's okay. Look at that chart. It's okay, right? So you're taking the medication for the rest of your life. It really doesn't do you much good. And so your mom's right. And those people are right. And we know that in the West. Once you take blood pressure medication, you're going to take it for the rest of your life.
And also that all of a sudden I remember 2 stories that happened in our life. Number one, when we bought the blood pressure machine in China, the girl working there basically thinking that we definitely have high blood pressure. That's why we want to buy this machine to check. So she started recommending you some medicine already, right? That's the first one. Then second one, you were checking your blood pressure in the hospital one time for some reason, and then it's a little bit high because you are under pressure. So then the nurse there started to recommend you some medicine right away at that moment, right? So that's their solution right there. If it's a little bit high, okay, they don't want to know anything happened to you. Is it because you're under stress, or is it because your lifestyle? They don't want to find the root of it, the reason of it. They just sell the medicine right away.
Exactly. So let's look at the first story, and then we'll look at the second story.
Okay.
The first story, that's just good salesmanship. She was trained to, hey, if they're buying a blood pressure machine, obviously they have blood pressure problems, so sell them some medicine also. That's just good salesmanship. But my blood pressure was already lower than that. I just wanted to monitor it over time to make sure, to see if fasting actually did work to lower blood pressure. And then the second one, I have what's called, and it's very common, I have what's called white coat high blood pressure. So whenever I'm in the hospital, I'm so nervous because of all the problems with hospitals. I mean, a hospital is a place that you want to go to if you want to die. Okay, if you don't want to die, you try and stay away from hospitals. Obviously, if you get into a car accident, you got to go to the hospital. The white coat high blood pressure is when that doctor straps on, or nurse straps on the arm cuff, starts pumping, and I start getting nervous. I start thinking, oh, what if it's too high? I never think, what if it's too low, but what if it's too high? And that causes it to be a little bit high. We're going to see evidence of that later on. So this is what I wrote in my book. Nearly 50% of Americans have high blood pressure, and they don't even know it. And this is why it's called the silent killer. 1 in 7 people in the world have high blood pressure. And this is because the Americans have exported their fast food and their unhealthy lifestyle and their snacks. 1 in 7 people. So that's over 1 billion people that have high blood pressure. That's a tragedy. Fewer than 1 in 5 of those people with high blood pressure have it under control. So less than 20% of the people who have high blood pressure have it under control. Hypertension is a major cause of premature death worldwide. So this is a huge problem. People need to get it under control. But of course, pharmaceutical companies don't care if you have it under control or if you know about it, because eventually they're going to make a lot of money selling you pills that you don't really need. Statins come with dangerous side effects. Statins are traditionally a high cholesterol medication, which it's all part of that metabolic syndrome. So I put it in there because it does actually bring your blood pressure down as it brings your cholesterol down. Interestingly enough, that it makes sense if you know what causes high blood pressure. So, and they have some very, very dangerous side effects, but so do the traditional medications that they prescribe for high blood pressure. Further, it has been estimated that 90% of hypertension cases could be lowered with natural lifestyle changes.
Yeah.
And most people that know that diet and exercise will work. But what a lot of people don't know is that fasting, whole food plant-based diet, and exercise
will work better.
Will work. So you look here, plant-based nutrition, whole food plant-based diets have been shown to reverse or manage high blood pressure. Fasting followed by a plant-based real food diet was also shown to reverse and cure hypertension. The pills don't work. They just don't work. But there's no money in lifestyle changes. There is money in high blood pressure medications. Really, what I want people to know is that a natural cure is better than a medical cure, a pill, a pharmaceutical cure. And we have evidence right here. Will Smith, one of the most famous actors in America, for 10 years was taking blood pressure medication, and he went on a fast for 10 days and he totally went off his blood pressure medication.
Will Smith tried fasting, right? But he only tried for 10 days. He can see the benefit from fasting. It's off the blood pressure medication. But after that, did he change his lifestyle? Did he keep fasting? Well,
that's the problem. If you don't adopt a healthier lifestyle after the fast, your blood pressure will just go back up. It may take a while, but it'll just go back up, and then he would need the medication. Or he could do the yo-yo thing where he fasts for 10 days and then a couple of months he goes back to eating unhealthy. Like the belly picture there with the hamburger and French fries. If you eat like a typical American, the blood pressure is going to go up, and then it's up and down. So really, studies show that adopting a healthy lifestyle after the fast, a whole food plant-based diet, is the best. Good point. And the thing I'd like to say about Will Smith is, did you ever imagine that this man is on blood pressure medication?
Yeah, no. I never thought that could happen to him, because he always looked fit to me.
He's always looked fit. When he was in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air back in the that's back in the 80s and 90s, he was just a tall, skinny kid, and I never saw him get fat. In all of his movies, he, like you said, he looks fit. But he said in this article in The Insider, he said that his family was starting to call him Muffin Top or something like that because he was getting a little bit pudgy. So maybe between movies, he got a little bit fat.
Behind the screen.
But it's the typical American diet that he was eating. I'm sure he didn't really watch. He didn't cut out meat. He didn't cut out fast food. He didn't cut out processed food. So he was taking blood pressure medication. Interesting story. But these two studies here, this is from the Cleveland Clinic. Can eating less strengthen your heart? Research shows that fasting can help lower blood pressure and of course reduce cholesterol, control diabetes, and reduce weight also. So it's not just about high blood pressure. It's really about metabolic syndrome. Fasting can cure metabolic syndrome. And then this one from Hypertension Blood Pressure Center, the correlation between fasting and blood sugar is scientifically viable, with numerous studies having shown that fasting indeed does reduce high blood pressure. You know, we have celebrities attesting to fasting. We have studies that go all the way back to 1988. This one talks about a study back in 1988 that shows that fasting reduces high blood pressure, but it doesn't matter if you're not eating the correct diet. It will go up when you're not fasting. So if you're intermittent fasting, then you will get some benefit from it.
But we still suggest to take fasting as a lifestyle, because that's the best for you. You will never worry about going back and take medicine again and then try fast again. You know, I don't think that's the best thing for your body.
Yeah. What are the top 3 pillars of SuperFast, SuperFit? It's fasting, super fasting, so intermittent and long-term fasting, diet, whole food plant-based diet mainly, and exercise. So back in 1988 they knew, and 2001. So why in 2021 are there so many people that don't know that fasting can reduce blood pressure when there have been studies published since 1988? People knew it before that, but we have scientific studies. And what the mainstream media has taught us is that you gotta rely on scientific studies, you gotta rely on doctors, you gotta rely on experts. Here is Alan Goldhammer. He is a chiropractor. He founded the True North Health Clinic, which is a medically supervised fasting clinic. They fast people for up to 40 days on water-only fasts. So he says that the title to this is Medically Supervised Water-Only Fasting in the Treatment of Hypertension. And what he found, and this is where I got the 90% number, is almost 90% of the subjects achieved blood pressure improvement. He concludes that medically supervised water-only fasting appears to be safe and effective means of normalizing blood pressure, may assist in motivating health-promoting diet and lifestyle changes. He does long-term fasting with people, but he has come out just recently and advocated for intermittent fasting when you're at home. When you are on your own, do intermittent fasting to help maintain the results from the long-term fast.
That's exactly what it should be, and that's what we do. Also, you should make it. You should really start to consider to make the fasting as your lifestyle.
We've adopted many of his principles. For sure, he advocates a whole food plant-based diet, no meat, and it's SOS, so no sugar, oil, or salt. And we've adopted the no sugar, we've adopted the no oil. We still do use a little bit of soy sauce, so we do add a little bit of salt to our diet sometimes, but we're not eating canned foods and processed foods, so we don't get a lot of sodium. So we don't know about this because they want to keep us confused. Doctors do not recommend this. They do not recommend fasting.
Imagine if everybody's healthy and nobody goes to the hospital to buy the medicine. Let's just say if people have a high blood pressure, they have to rely on medicine the whole rest of their life. How much money they have to pay for that? That alone, all the damage of your body, because when you take medicine, it has side effects.
Absolutely. It has side effects, whereas the fasting doesn't really have side effects. Get my book and you watch our videos and you find out how to fast safely. Water-only fasting, intermittent fasting, long-term fasting are going to help you reduce your blood pressure, cholesterol, all these things.
Will improve your life quality.
Absolutely. So I mentioned that the CDC advocates you go into your doctor to get your blood pressure checked, but that's so infrequent that it's not really going to help you. So buying a blood pressure machine like this one right here, or this one, means that you can actually monitor your blood pressure more frequently, so you can know if there's a problem or know if you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, my mom had one of this kind, but it's not really very reliable. The one around your wrist, right?
It was your mom's blood pressure machine like this that made us go out and get a little bit better machine.
Yeah.
And then we compare. This is a little bit more unreliable than the one that we have. And of course, your doctor is going to probably have better equipment to take your blood pressure, but you shouldn't just rely on your doctor. You should be doing it at home. So we definitely take our blood pressure now on a weekly basis. And this was the blood pressure that I took first thing in the morning. You should always take your blood pressure at the same time of day if you're doing it every day, and the same day and time if you're doing it once a week.
Because it can change, right? Different time of the day.
Different times of the day, and I'm going to show you a video here in just a second that will show that. But this is 103/73. So when my heart beats, the pressure is 103, and when it's at rest, the pressure is 73. And I was totally rested at this time. And my resting heart rate is 53, which most people would think is way below normal, because 60 to 100 is the range, which is just medically, it's a ridiculous range to have. There is a doctor who thinks your resting heart rate should be around 50, because we should all be athletes. We should all be exercising, because the human body was designed to move. But we're not talking about heart rate now. We can talk about that later. But that just shows that our hearts, yours is 56, mine is 53. That shows that our hearts are healthy and strong. Okay, so 103/73. Let's look at this particular chart, because we have the max, the normal, and the minimum. But 103/73 is the blood pressure of a 14 to 19-year-old. Now I'm 57, so that is decades younger, like 3 decades younger as far as my resting blood pressure. So,
and it's minimal. It's 14 to 19 years minimal.
Minimal. And yours is just as impressive, 98/71. You are in between 6 to 19 years old.
Yeah, 6 to 19 years old.
6 to 19 years old. So we both have reduced our blood pressure by decades. So is it inevitable to have high blood pressure when you are older?
No.
No, it's not at all. We have the blood pressure of teenagers. So it is not inevitable.
Very good. Now, I have one more question. So how can we know if it's too low for us or for anyone?
So I have, through fasting, have gotten to below the 90/60. Just a couple of times, and it was just a couple of points lower, like 88/57 or something like that. So just low. It is extremely difficult to get your blood pressure below 90/60. Extremely difficult. For the average healthy person, we don't have to worry about low blood pressure. So hypertension is high blood pressure. Hypotension is low blood pressure, and that's a medical condition. But you're going to know that you have too low a blood pressure, because you're going to lose consciousness. You're going to stand up, you're going to get dizzy because the blood doesn't have a chance to get to your brain and make you stable. So you're going to either have to sit down or you're going to pass out and fall down. So if you have that problem where you stand up and you feel dizzy, you probably should worry about low blood pressure. Otherwise, if you feel okay, it's fine. You'll never go too low.
Interesting.
You took your blood pressure yesterday. We took our blood pressure, and I'm going to show a video about taking blood pressure. And the first reading, we didn't get a picture of it, but your first reading was almost perfect. It was around 90/60. So, and that was after exercising, That was after going to the
Drinking
store.
coffee.
That was after drinking coffee. Yeah, we were fasting. And so that's probably why your blood pressure was so good. But we didn't get a picture of that, unfortunately. Here we go, taking our blood pressure and how to take your blood pressure at home. You can easily take your blood pressure at home with a home blood pressure machine. Make sure that your arm is as bare as possible. Short sleeves is fine. And we have the blood pressure machine. The reading there is in Chinese. You take the cuff, the blood pressure cuff, and there are instructions right on it to show you how to do it. And there's an arrow that points forward, and I always remember it as the tube should be pointing forward also. Very simple to put on. You can do it by yourself and just adjust it so that the tube is pointing to the crook of your arm. And you are ready to take your blood pressure. Make sure that your arm is level with or above your heart. And you push the start button. That's what it says in Chinese there. Then the machine fills the cuff up with air, figures out your blood pressure, and that is slightly high. This is 124/84, 57 heart rate. So as you go about your day, your blood pressure is going to fluctuate. You might be laying on the couch and it'd be low. You might be out exercising, it's going to be higher. And we are going through a lot of stress. Stress is a huge problem with high blood pressure. So, if you're looking for a job, or if you're moving apartments or moving, these are huge. If you're getting a divorce, or if you're, these are big, high pressure situations in your life, and it might be higher. So we have a few of those in our life right now. Not the divorce thing, that's good. But so 124/84 is no problem with everything that's going on and everything that we did that day, considering that 103/73 is what it was when I was totally rested. So I'm just not worried about that. If it kept going up over several weeks when I was resting and it was that high, I would be worried. But since it was an active day, just not worried about it.
That's why it's important for you to have some blood pressure machine to check by yourself, monitor it, so you'll know what changed.
Exactly. Now it's JC's turn.
I'm so not happy.
She's excited. She wants her blood pressure taken. And hers is 95/64, which is very good.
Yeah, I think so.
It was even lower than that when we took it the first time.
Yes.
And 60, which is okay for heart rate because it's an active day. So
yeah.
So
also,
there you go.
Comparing ours, mine is most of times lower than yours for the blood pressure because we had totally different lifestyle before, and you had the blood pressure problem or diabetes problem running your family also, right?
Yeah.
When I met you, you were overweight, so you probably had high blood pressure problem 5 years ago,
Yeah, not probably. That's a definite, because I was diagnosed with high blood pressure in my 30s. I have been through certain lifestyle changes where it has been lower, but for the most part, I think my blood pressure was high for 2 decades, 30s, 40s, and into my 50s, and that caused damage. And so my blood pressure is not going to be as good as yours, because you have not had high blood pressure until probably when you married me and we got fat together again, and then we had high blood pressure then. But now yours is back down to normal because you don't have that damage. Good point. Very good. So I'm going to try and get mine down just a little bit, and 116/79 with a heart rate of 57 beats per minute, well within the normal range. And because I rested, it's down below 120/80, and that's perfectly fine. And that's how you take your blood pressure. That's how you monitor it. And you think, well, what was I yesterday? What am I today? What was I a week ago? And if you are in the pre-hypertension stage for too long, then you need to think about doing other things with your lifestyle. Change your lifestyle so that you do not have high blood pressure and you don't have metabolic syndrome. So how can we help you attain your goals of having low blood pressure? Now that you're aware of it, and you're going to buy a blood pressure machine, you're halfway there.
And you know, you have other options than medicine. You know, you can choose other better natural way to get the blood pressure down.
Exactly. So go to kobo.com, buy my book. You'll get 1 hour of free personalized video consultation. Read the book, start fasting, ask questions. Continue reading the book. Join our community through SuperFastSuperFit.com and the SuperFast SuperFit.
Let's get healthy.
And if I could have just written SuperFast, it's good for you, intermittent fast and long-term fast, that wouldn't have taken a book to write. But there are a lot of societal pressures, especially doctors and pharmaceutical companies keeping everyone confused. There are a lot of societal pressures to not fast, to not be healthy. So a lot of what's in the book is how to be healthy, not just fasting, but how to handle all the societal pressures that keep you from being healthy. So you will learn something, and then you join the community, you have other people who fast, you mentor other people, and then listen to our podcast, watch our videos. And that's how you're going to reach your goals of lower blood pressure, which everybody should have.
Yeah, start right now. Don't keep waiting, you know. Every podcast, we have some topic in it, but our goal is always the same. We try to help you to be healthier so you can have a better life with high quality. That's all what we want for you.
Make a commitment. Start fasting now. Absolutely. If you think this video helped you, hit the subscribe button. If you have questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment sections or leave a voice comment if possible, and we will feature it on our next podcast. You can find us on SuperFastSuperFit.com, Facebook, email superfastsuperfit@gmail.com, LinkedIn, M. David Peterson, Instagram, M. David Peterson, Twitter, M. David Peterson, and SuperFast 100M. And then YouTube, the channel is SuperFast SuperFit, so you can see all of our videos. Subscribe to the channel.
I hope that today's podcast helped you a little bit, and I hope that you learn something from it and start to really consider to change your lifestyle to get much healthier. We can always be healthier than we are now.
Next week, we're going to be discussing splurge meals and splurge days.
Can't wait for the next topic. I'm very interested.
All right, we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Keep healthy.
Bye.
Bye. Buy the book.
Keep fasting.